Just a couple of guys, a couple microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back again for another edition of Football on the No Show. I am flying solo today. Unfortunately, Jimmy came down with a massive headache, and it's really starting to bother him. So he's working the board behind the scenes, going to be producing the show for us. So if you feel free to do so in the comments, wish Jimmy some better health and quick recovery there. But before we get to anything, welcome aboard. This is Football on the No Show. If you could do us a huge favor, if you're just tuning in, whatever the case may be, head over to YouTube for us. Help support our channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Other than that, stay tuned because we're going to be doing my top 10 for the draft tight ends. Um, this list, before we get into it, I gotta say, gave me some problems because not finding the talent to fit in the top 10, but kind of deciphering who should be 1, 3, 5, whatever. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. And we're going to go into my top 10 list here. So, at number 10, I'm going to start off at 10 here. We're going to go with Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. Um, He is a developmental guy, in my opinion. He still needs some work on his blocking technique, his route running a little bit, but he's still a good athlete that if a team can kind of open up his talents and further develop him, could be like a sneaky type of pick. Number 9, I have Joshua Simon from South Carolina, a guy who's very lengthy, tall type of tight end, physical. This is kind of the tight end that I kinda gravitate to. I like a guy that can do every facet of football, and Josh Simon can do that. He's seen more as a receiving threat, but he definitely has the body type, the size, the strength, and the long arms to further develop his blocking technique as well. Number 8, I'm gonna say Terrence Ferguson from Oregon. Some people might say that this is too low for Ferguson, but while going through all these tight ends, it became a very daunting task to try to split hairs to see who's ranked above each other. But Terrence is more like a receiving threat of a tight end, a guy who still needs a little bit more work, especially on his route running, but has tremendous hands, has that great athletic ability, great balance after contact, and but all in all is a receiving threat and doesn't have blazing speed. Like he has decent speed for the position, but nothing that's really going to like that's eye popping. Number 7, I got Luke Lachey from Iowa, and some people have Luke Lachey lower than this. I just like the utility of his skill set. He can do everything extremely well, very polished. He's similar. He's not being talked about as much, but he's similar to like Sam Laporta. And I know like, oh, he came from Iowa, so that's why you're comparing him. No, he's kind of similar like that. He doesn't get too much high praise in any one category, but he's solid across the board. And I think Luke Lachey could be a stealthy pick for whatever team takes him. And it seems to me like a lot of consensus think he's going to be good a day 3 pick. Number 6, I have Gunnar Helm from Texas, a guy that sustained injury, a guy that's kind of fighting back, displayed some tremendous athletic ability, gifted size, a guy that can do blocking. He can be that receiving threat. He can high point the ball, go for those 50-50 balls in the red zone. He'll be your target. I got Gunnar Helmet from Texas at 6. And then we get to the top 5. At 5, I got Mason Taylor from LSU. Mason Taylor is a relative of Jason Taylor, the former Miami Dolphin legend, um, pass rusher for them. Mason Taylor's unique, and he gives you some pretty distinctive ability to be able to run after the catch. Very smooth type of tight end. This is definitely a guy who's solely you're going to bring him in just to be a receiving threat. He's not going to be inline blocking. He's not going to be chipping anybody or anything like that. Mason Taylor is just very smooth. He's similar to a bigger sized wide receiver, but in and out of gets in and out of breaks quickly. Is just the ball seems to just stick to his hands, and it is very smooth after the catch and creating those yak yards. Number 4, I have Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. Yes, a small school prospect, but man, does this guy have tremendous size. He's 6'6", 230 plus. Guy has speed to go with that tremendous size. Has a great catching radius, good hands, solid in and out of his breaks, great route running, and he definitely has the size and strength and is a pretty darn good blocker as well. So this is a guy who's kind of like a do-it-all tight end, and I don't feel like he's getting enough recognition like I really think he deserves, at least from the outsider's perspective, that is. So I got him at 4 for me. At number 3, I have Elijah Arroyo from Miami. This dude, I can't talk highly enough about this guy. I think has some untapped potential that when you watch him play, he is for one, he's one of these bigger sized tight ends like a Harold Fannin Jr. that I just mentioned, but he's got that tremendous size, but he's got better speed than you would anticipate a guy that big having. I mean, the way it looks like he's like a 4.55 type of 40, and a guy with that kind of athletic traits and the speed and the size has good hands. His route running is amazing. I think that at the next level, he could be even better with better coaching and to really hone in on his craft. I'm a huge fan of Elijah. I think that he reminds me a lot of, and I know this is kind of high praise, but he really does remind me of like Jimmy Graham, like the Jimmy Graham in his prime. So I would not be surprised if he gets taken earlier than people anticipate. Number 2, these are the top 2 tight ends in this class. Colston Loveland from Michigan, I have at number 2, behind Tyler Warren from Penn State. Both of these guys are seen as like 1A, 1B type of tight ends. Pick your flavor. They're slightly different from each other. Colston Loveland is a guy that kind of does everything extremely well, but Tyler Warren is seen as a guy who does everything, even out of position. Because with Tyler Warren, you've seen him in college play fullback, running back, tight end, slot wide receiver. I mean, they've moved him around at Penn State like a chess piece. So I expect much the same at the next level. Tyler Warren is very fun type of tight end. You can utilize him, like I said, in various situations. And I'm curious to see whoever does pick him. How do they go? Are they going to be super creative like Penn State was with him, or are they just going to kind of just lock him in at tight end, not really move him around or anything. So, and Colson Loveland, again, a guy who's extremely athletic, great height. He high points the ball extremely well. He's a long limbed type of wide receiver at tight end. He's not the fastest guy, but man, does he do everything super solid. He's really polished in every category. So both of these guys, their names are going to be called in the first round at some point. I'm curious to see where that in fact does happen, but that is my top 10 tight ends at the moment. So I got to say that after doing that top 10, and you might have said, well, did you leave anybody out? Like, there's other guys on this list. I did have a list that says the best of the rest. And for the tight end grouping, I'll just mention a couple names off of that list. Guys like Jake Brenningstool from Clemson, a guy who's had injury, has come back. Watch for his name to be called. Um, Another one, I'll just say maybe Malaki Matevo from UCLA. He's another guy that's kind of like an athletic guy, but can do both things well. Bryson Nesbitt from North Carolina. Those are just a couple names that, off the top of my head, on that best of the rest list that um, to look out for the draft. So that's my top 10 for this upcoming draft. And now, going to get into, let's see, what do we got here? Going to get into, oh, there we go. Jeremy. Jeremy's got something to say. He goes, I hope we get to steal that tight end from Miami as a dog. Yeah, absolutely. The guy, I feel like, is being vastly underrated, and I think that that might be just more of an outsider's perspective for Elijah Arroyo, because obviously you see when we watch the draft, it happens every single year. We're watching for certain players that we're just kind of really fond of or whatnot, but and then teams take someone that either we never heard of, or a guy that we didn't expect them to take as high as they did or as low as they did. So it'll be interesting to see how this draft, in fact, unravels. But nonetheless, it's probably going to be one of the more anticipated drafts that we've seen in recent memory. So now we're going to get into my top 10, um, or top 10 running backs. This is one of the deepest positions in the draft. I mean, hands down. Uh, there is no reason, if you're a running back needy team with this upcoming draft, there's no reason at all you don't get your guy, or you don't get someone that's comparable to start for you for this upcoming season. Uh, so I just think that this is one of those positions in this draft where it's super deep. You can't go wrong. Whether you want to take a guy earlier, one of the top two running backs, top three, whatever, or if you want to wait till later in day two, maybe even the beginning of day three, I still think you can get a starting caliber running back. Uh, and my 10th running back is Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Um, there's a lot of people say Caleb Johnson is a top 5 pick out of the running back position. Um, I when I watch Caleb Johnson, he's a very smooth runner. He's powerful. He's got great size. He's strong. All that good stuff. He can catch out of the backfield. He can block for you. He can do everything pretty well. But something when I watched him on tape, something kind of like opened my eyes about, is Caleb Johnson really as good as everyone thinks he is? Because when I watch the tape, you know what I see? I see Iowa's offensive line destroying defensive fronts. I mean, it's not even there's no skill set needed to run behind that offensive line. I seen them open up truck width sized holes. Like, I mean, you could drive a car through it, and Caleb Johnson just speeds right through it and takes off. Like, so I feel like a lot of the tape that I've watched on him, there isn't the guessing is part of the running back position is out of hand. Like, he doesn't need to guess. He doesn't need to think about, have good vision or whatnot. So it's hard to evaluate a guy like that who ran behind a very good offensive front, uh, uh, in Iowa, a team that opened up really wide rushing lanes and made it super easy for Caleb Johnson to rack up stats and get touchdowns and what have you. So I think that, to be honest, Caleb Johnson is a hard evaluation, and I look at more of that offensive front as being the reason for it. So that's why I have him lower than other people, because there's some questions I still have. I still have questions on his ball carrying vision. I still have questions on, can he read blocks as he approaches the line of scrimmage. So uh that to me is the reason why I have him down at 10 on my list. Number 9, I have DJ Giddens from Kansas State. I have no idea why he's not getting any love at this point. DJ Giddens, decent sized running back, a guy who is fast, who reads the front really extremely well, has really good ball carrier vision. Might not be the blazing speed type of running back, but man, oh man, can this guy just run the ball? and that's what his expertise was in Kansas State. A guy that's really helped that offense this year, had a really good year. I just don't understand um, why there's not any real talk about him, at least not right now. But I have him at number 9. Number 8, I have RJ Harvey from UCF, Central Florida. Very underrated running back, a guy who kind of exploded onto the scene after the scouting combine, started to get his name kind of like become like known in other front office starting to really kind of look into him and open up the coach's tape and really kind of take a deep dive into RJ Harvey because this guy is another solid running back in every category. Like, he's got top end speed. He has really good ball carrier vision. He's got burst. He's got soft hands to catch out of the backfield. Only thing that I kind of wonder about him is like maybe his pass protection or blocking at the next level. I don't know if he'll be able to take on those big time linebackers or pass rush ends off the edge. But that's gonna be something that a team, whoever does draft him, is gonna have to figure out, or maybe they've done enough homework to where they already know the answer. So, he's at 8 for me. Number 7, I got Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson is another guy from Tennessee that, man, you talk about explosive, you talk about top end speed, you talk about a guy who's very elusive in the open field, hard to catch once he gets out and about there and going for 6 before you know it. This guy is like one of the more explosive running backs in this class. And honestly, Dylan Sampson, I would not even be surprised if he gets picked earlier than where I have him in my top 10. It just takes one team to fall in love with a prospect or a guy that they really do envision on being their answer for that spot. So Dylan Sampson, I really kind of view him kind of in a similar role, not exactly, but similar role of Alvin Kamara, and that's what I think you're getting similarly. Will he become Alvin Kamara? He's got potential to be, but that's kind of the track that I kind of envision him becoming. So Dylan Sampson at 7. At number 6, we got a guy by the name of Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State. I have him lower than other people, a lot of people, I'll say. And to be honest, he's very big. I mean, he is every bit of 220 and maybe even more. He's what I think he's 6'2", 6'1", something like that. But Quinshawn Judkins is a tank with the ball in his hands. He's a guy that has great top end speed. A guy for that size to be able to run like a 4.40 is very impressive. He's very athletic, can make moves, I feel like, and he's super strong. But when I watched him at Ohio State, and he was kind of in that sharing role, like rotational backfield with Travion Henderson. But when Quinshawn got opportunities, it was more like straight line, like, "This is the play, I'm gonna run to that spot," and I'm not he didn't do enough for me to create on the go, like, make somebody miss, stiff arm someone to the ground. He's run through people before, he's physical. It's just I wanted to see him be able to do everything. I wanted him to see to show me that he can not just break a tackle and be physical, but make someone miss out in the open. You got one guy to beat, and I don't see that from him. I don't see his ability to make that guy miss. To me, it leads me to believe he's a little stiff and maybe just doesn't hasn't developed that part of his game either yet, or maybe he can't at this point. But nonetheless, you're getting yourself a bowling ball of a running back if whatever team takes him. And then we get to my top 5 here. At number 5, I got this dude kind of opened my eyes, and Damian Martinez from Miami. This dude, I didn't have him on my radar at all. And then somebody mentioned, "Hey, you gotta take a look at this guy, Damian." And from Miami, I'm like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah." So I did some deep digging. I watched some tape on him, and I came away super impressed. So much so he made my top 5. So he is 5th on my running back list. This is a guy who I feel like is going to be a underrated steal of the draft type of pick that maybe nobody's really looking at early on, but maybe in day 3 you can snag him. Uh, the way I look at him, the way he runs, honestly, is he reminds me a lot of Josh Jacobs, a guy who's smooth, who's got quick, choppy steps. He can make you miss in a phone booth. He does everything super well. He can block for you and pass protect for you. He can catch out of the backfield. And his burst, his patience behind the line. He kind of waits a split second for the play to fully develop in the blocking scheme and then bursts through it. So Damian Martinez is a guy that I can't wait to see where he lands and maybe how high he ends up going. Very intriguing prospect. Number 4, we talked about Travion Henderson earlier, and now we talk about him now. He made 4th spot for me at Ohio State. Guy is very explosive. I mean, you talk about explosion and acceleration. This guy's the epitome of it. He the only reason why I don't have him maybe at 3 is he got banged up from time to time at Ohio State. He missed some time here and there. And I wonder, how does that translate to the NFL level for him? Like, is he going to be injured more often? Is the fact that when he gets to the NFL and receives better nutrition, better training, better medical attention, you know, does he develop that and get stronger so he doesn't in fact get injured often? So there's a couple of ways it could go for him. But if he can manage to stay healthy and stay on the football field, I think someone is going to get an electrifying type of running back, a guy that can do it all. And we talk about pass protection. This dude right here, Travion Henderson, is a juggernaut. This dude literally will blow you the fuck up. Like he is. You look at him, and he's not the biggest guy. He's not as big as Quinshawn Judkins, who's 220. He's lighter than that. He's like 205, 210. But man, does he destroy rushers, linebackers blitzing, guys off the edge. He's done it all. He's taken on everybody of every size and has stonewalled them at the point of attack. So if you're looking for a guy to come in, be your running back, and be a critical part of your pass protection game, he's your pick. Then we get to my top 3. At 3, I have Marion Hampton from North Carolina. Early on in my, scouting process, I had Marion Hampton as 1B, right tied with Ashton Jeanty, and I thought that, he was going to be and continue to excel as we got through the draft process into the draft and cement himself as at least the number 2 back. But Marion Hampton, for me, he's a very gifted running back, and we talked about Judkins earlier, where Hampton is kind of the same kind of size, but he's a little bit more fluid. He can make you miss a little bit. Um, Definitely can break the tackles and whatnot. Very good at out of the backfield to catch the ball, but there's just something missing from him. I can't pinpoint it, but I think he's an excellent running back candidate. For anybody that takes him, you're getting yourself a starter, but there's just something that I could not keep him at 2 for. I just don't think he has some of the it factor that the other 2 do in front of him. So at number 2, I have none other than Cam Skattebo from Arizona State. Cam, in consensus mock drafts and even rankings, a lot of people have him as like maybe an early day 3 pick, late day 2. I don't know what the hell they're looking at. I mean, honestly, Cam Skattebo is the most physically dominating running back in this class and probably in the past 5 draft classes. This dude, I like to call him Cam the Ram because this dude is relentless. He doesn't go down easy at all. He fights through every tackle. The first guy that brings the hit to him bounces off of him. and he keeps going. And then when he has 2 or 3 more guys trying to wrangle him, you think he's going down, and from the tape, he fights through that and sometimes breaks out of it and runs for another 20 yards. This guy is not if you're trying to look for a guy who can, um, run away from people and take it for 60, this isn't your guy. This guy is doesn't have elite top end speed, but he has enough speed to make a difference. Now, unofficially, he got clocked at 4.57, somewhere around that range. So you say he's a high end 4.5 guy, not going to run away from the secondary or anything. But what this guy is going to do is beat the crap out of defenses every single time he gets the ball. He's going to punish them, and they're going to feel it. And then over time, they're probably not going to want that action anymore when you get to the fourth quarter and you're running the clock out some more. So Cam Scatterbo, I'm a huge fan of. He makes my number 2 spot here. And again, he's not going to be the fastest guy, but this dude is absolutely relentless. Great blocker also, and on top of it, yes, he can catch because that's always kind of like the question with running backs. Definitely can do all phases. Definitely can be a starter in a franchise type of running back for any team. And then at number 1, said his name earlier. Everybody probably already knows this, but Ashton Genty from Boise State. It's not a difficult choice, and it's not even close. Some of the things that make Ashton Genty so special is literally every category that he does at an elite level. This is the first time in a while that we've gotten a running back prospect that literally deserves top 5 conversations. And he is elite at every aspect. Talk about blocking, he can handle his own. Talk about burst, talk about top end speed. You talk about making people miss in short area and out in the open, can do it all. He bounces off of guys. He's just a premier running back at every level. And whoever does end up taking Escingenti, they're getting themselves not just a blue chip player out of this class, but they're getting themselves a franchise running back that is going to be a difference maker on the offensive side of the ball. So that's why I have Escingenti at number 1. And that is the end of my top 10 for my running back class. Uh, Genty should have been Heisman winner. Yeah, Anthony, um, I agree. I mean, when you have a player of that magnitude at the college ranks, and for him to put on a show that nobody has seen anybody come close to Barry Sanders' record ever. Like, I can't think off the top of my head if anybody's even come that close to breaking that record. And for the Heisman voters to not recognize that, seeing that he was so close, and he could have broke it. Honestly, like if he played that last game and uh, just gave him the ball a few times, like I think he would have definitely broke it. So I'm kind of surprised about that. Um, so I mean, it's a little strange and everything, but all in all, he's still going to have a long career. John Turner in the house said the problem with running backs is most, not all, but most have shelf life of 750 touches before the big drop off. Yeah, John. I mean, that's the thing is, um, but if you can have a very special running back for a few years, we'll just say 4 years. Um, I think that's all you can really ask for. We know that the game is definitely physical. We know that it takes a toll on these running backs, and that's why they are limited in their shelf life, and they're limited on how often you can use them, and that's why you even see teams kind of adopting their running back by committee approach and having multiple backs and utilizing them all. So that's true, but at the same time, if you got a chance to get a player that can really kind of solidify the backfield for you, help out that offense, help the quarterback out, I think it's something that you gotta definitely look into. Let's see. John says rookie contracts is the Super Bowl window. Yeah, could be, right? Uh, Mike Tackett in the house. He goes, Henderson gets an Aaron Jones comp. I love his catching ability and blocking. Yeah, like that's the thing is he's really special in those categories too. When you get the ball in his hands out in the open, especially, we've seen it happen a lot with at Ohio State where he just kind of just bursts and takes off and he's gone. Um, John Turner also saying, did you talk about NFL going to 18 games before the 2029 season? Um, no, we haven't talked about it. We know this is kind of going to be the direction that Roger Goodell and the NFL go. Like it's almost like it's almost really done official. Like it's going to happen because Goodell wants it to happen. The NFL wants it to be a reality, and all that means is more money in their pockets. It's real simple. Like They're they they're all about the money. They say that they're about player safety, but this doesn't show me that you're about player safety. It's like, "Oh, no, we wanna tack on another week. We um, want more commercial breaks. We want more money flowing in, more revenue." Just making money off the players' backs, really. And, it's unfortunate because we've already seen teams be decimated by injuries throughout the year the way it is currently. And now you're adding another week and another week of a possibility that a key player gets hurt and um and we've seen how much that comes into play, especially when those injuries start to mount up and pile up on the roster. John Turner also said they also lose a preseason game and gain a season game. Yeah, that's the problem though too is evaluation for coaches and the front offices. I feel like is you keep scaling back that preseason format with games. If you're going from 3 to 2 preseason games, now you really got to pinpoint and ask yourself like, can we really evaluate the undrafted free agents that we sign, the draft picks that we draft, and even new incoming free agents that we just signed? Can they be evaluated to make the team or not? Who's going to make the roster? I feel like in 2 weeks' time, that's a lot. And I understand they might be saying, "Oh, well, it's only 2 preseason games," but that's what the only live action you get to evaluate your draft prospects, your undrafted free agents, and maybe even new free agents you signed. Makes it really difficult to me, like, you really have 2 games of live action to look at, 2 weeks of game tape, and now you're gonna have to come to a decision, a couple weeks after those games are over with. Because I don't think that they would get rid of the 3rd preseason game and say, "Oh, we're gonna shorten preseason." I still think that they should allow them, like, a 2-week grace period with other practices. If they're not gonna have 2 games, at least let them continue to evaluate at least through practice. So, it's gonna be difficult. I feel like across the board for any team to kinda really get a great idea of who you drafted, your undrafted free agents, are they good enough to make the roster? Are they good enough to keep developing and put them back on your practice squad? So there's a lot of variables with this whole idea of going to 18 game season. And then you also think about traveling, about how they're implementing even more international games per season and different locations now. How's that going to also affect it? John said, "Do NFL players outside of rookie contracts like playing the preseason or Pro Bowl better?" Hmm. Outside of rookie contracts, man, I have to say, like, because here's the thing: is if you're outside of your rookie contract, I mean, I think you would want to play. I mean, obviously, you want to play in the Pro Bowl. I mean, that shows you recognition. If you can make the Pro Bowl, then that will give you greater chance to kinda cash in for that new deal, get more money. Uh, but, it's one of these things that has a varying degree of different layers to it, and I know that owners and everybody that's involved is having those conversations, how they wanna construct it, how they wanna go about doing it. Me and Jimmy have said before that if they were gonna do the 18-week season, then m implement an extra bye week. It might not be it might not be, 17 games, but 18 games, but it's gonna be at least give the teams, like, an extra bye week to kind of, like, rest the bones, to get a little get recharged, get healthier, hopefully. So, I don't know how they're gonna construct it. I don't know if they are, in fact, gonna add another game and just not give, an extra bye week or what, but, gotta say the NFL is kinda going on the side of, I think I think expanding the game too much, and we're gonna see a lot more players, even though it's an extra week, we're gonna see a lot more players get injured and maybe miss time, maybe even miss the playoffs. DeAndre said, "What single season records go down first in an 18-game season? What single season records go down first in an 18-game season?" I'm not sure what you're asking. Um, but that's I mean, I don't know. I have to say that, there's a lot of things that are gonna be happening, especially as we approach the draft. We already know that, they're gonna revisit these conversations, especially, like, in May and at the owners' meetings, and we're gonna even also hear about, we're also gonna be hearing about, like, the decisions on a couple of new proposals that got tabled, which is gonna be interesting. Um, said rushing records, passing records. What single season records go down first in the 18-game season? Um, I mean, really, it's you know what? With an 18-game season, probably. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things where passing yards going down, maybe. I mean, it's gonna basically depend on the health of your offensive line. Going to be um, your quarterback's health and all that. But I mean, that's the thing. Is like we can talk like whenever these records get brought up about, well, length of schedule is the reason why records are getting broken. I think that what you need to really be looking at is not so much the games, it's gonna be the attempts, the amount of rushing attempts you have for running backs, the amount of passing attempts for quarterbacks, you know? I mean, that's kind of what I would be looking at if you were looking at someone to take down a big time record, like even last year, like with Saquon Barkley. There was a debate about that. It's like, oh, he had an extra game and stuff. I'm like, well, but if you look at his attempts, he had less attempts than Eric Dickerson and could have very easily taken that record. But, you know, for whatever reason, he didn't continue playing. They sat him, whatnot. John Turner says Jamar Chase breaks receiving yards record. No Diddy. I mean, it's one of these things though. It's interesting because there's always this debate about as the games and the schedule gets longer, some of these records start to get, players get really close at beating these records, and if they do overcome a huge milestone that's been in place for decades, um, then it's like, oh well, he doesn't deserve it. Well, I mean, I think that if you look at it in the right lens and say, well, did he do it at the same or less attempts than his predecessor? Then I think it's a legit breaking of the record. Um, but you know what? With Jamar Chase, one of the best receivers in the league, like he's got a great quarterback in Joe Burrow to throw him the ball. It's possible that he can do it all. It's possible that anybody can do it all. So, but I think it really comes down to attempts more than anything. I mean, that's what I would say. Not necessarily the how many games they get, but I think at this point in the modern NFL era, it's got to come down to, even though that there's more games to be played now than ever, it's got to come down to, you know, how the amount of attempts that they've had in their career or in that season to break the record. John said Jim Brown had 1863 yards in a 14 game season. True GOAT. And this is my thing about Jim Brown. A lot of people say that Jim Brown is one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. Have all those debates about Jim Brown. At that time when Jim Brown was playing, and some people might not even know who Jim Brown is, but Jim Brown was a bull. Basically, he was a grown man that just run through people in his time in the NFL. But when you look back at that era of Jim Brown playing, Jim Brown was the biggest dude on the football field. He was playing against a bunch of small, it looked like he was playing against kindergartners. I mean, guys were trying to stop him, he just run through them. Um, and it was very like they couldn't figure out a way to stop him. So of course Jim Brown had tremendous seasons, had, you know, uh is a gifted player for that time in that era, but I kind of look at it as he was a man amongst boys, and the boys weren't very big. Basically, they were bowling pins that he was just running through. But that's what I feel about that for Jim Brown. What we got any other things? No. If you're new to this show, do us a huge favor. Head over to YouTube for us. Further support the channel on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Share it to all your family and friends. Um, and yeah, I mean, we got. Let's see. We have. I want to say that we have 106 subscribers, and we're still striving to get to 200. Definitely help us out if you can. John said, walked away the year before the first Super Bowl. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. That is wild. Man, imagine that. Imagine Jim Brown deciding to retire, walk away from the game that he loves, and then the first Super Bowl happens where he could have had a ring, you know? Eh, that's just insane. John said, "What's your prediction for my Commanders this year?" 14-3 question mark. I'm gonna say I have to table that until after the draft because I'd like to see what they are gonna do to get like a full picture of their offseason. So far, they've done well. Um, they got their quarterback. You know, they got some weapons for him. I'm curious to see what the Commanders do as far as whether they add more weaponry for Jaden Daniels or um, maybe even better protection up front. There's a lot of ways that they could help him or even help the defense. Like we know that like when Washington made the playoffs, I was excited for them. I was like, "Holy smokes, like this is incredible." They got their quarterback. He helps carry them into the playoffs, but the one thing that kind of held them back a little bit was the fact that their defense wasn't up to par. And I wonder if that's going to be a significant focus on what they do for this upcoming draft is continue to add to that defense, get upgrades, get players that can fit the scheme, get guys that can work with Dan Campbell. Um, I think that's what the direction might be for them in the draft. John said, "Is Daniels the greatest rookie of all time?" I love the all-time questions. Um, for in my opinion, there's no such thing as greatest of all time. It's just not. I mean, there's too many different variables, eras, rule changes with the sport that's happened throughout the years that you just can't pick one player overall. Uh, I would say that Jaden Daniels is definitely one of the greatest rookies of all time. I wouldn't necessarily say anybody is the best. So Daniels definitely one of the greatest of all time. A guy that's really kind of turned down that franchise to be right in the competitive winning stages now. And when you have a player like that, especially at the quarterback position, when you find that guy can take you a long, long way. So uh, I would say that I would, I guess I would say like I love Jaden Daniels coming out. I had him as my number one quarterback. So I think Washington's done okay, right? John Turner saying womp womp. Sorry to disappoint you, bro, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe in best player of all time for any position, you know. But I appreciate the question anyway. If you're new to the show, make sure you share it. Make sure you get this thing on board. We're trying to gain some traction here, trying to climb up the YouTube ladder, so to speak. Hit that subscribe button, share it to everybody you know, like all that good stuff. But if there's no more questions, I think that this is going to be that short of a show. Went through. If you didn't see it already, make sure you take a look at this. Watch the my top 10 tight ends for this upcoming draft and my top 10 running backs for this upcoming draft. Both lists gave me differing issues. Tight ends were kind of like splitting hairs, and running backs were like so much talent there that it's kind of difficult to rank them. John Turner said, "Let's get one thing straight. Lawrence Taylor is the goat of his position. He's really good." Trying to get me to say he's the best of all time is not going to happen. Uh, you can just he's one of the best to ever play that position, sure, but not the best ever. No such thing. Uh, and with that being said, I think we are all set here. We're going to take off. And thanks, John Turner. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. If you guys have any questions, comments about my top tens at this point, feel free to drop down in the comments below. Ask some questions. Give your insight. Give your opinion. Do you think that I have some guys that are too high up? Do you think that there's players that I don't have in my top 10 that should be? Uh, every bit of information is much appreciated. Thanks for all the support, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.